Rizal's novels and our continuing struggle for freedom. How are the novels of Rizal relevant more than a century after they were written? The Maria Clara at Ibarra TV series offers a redeeming twist to our nation's story amid the many challenges our young democracy faces today. On June 12, 2023, we celebrated 125 years of Philippine independence from Spanish colonization. After more than a century since that singular event, it would be a good point of reflection for us Filipinos to ask ourselves, where are we now in our journey to be a free and prosperous nation? Have we made progress in our pursuit of liberty and equality, free from the influence of world powers and other dominating forces in our present-day world? Can we truly say that we have matured as a democracy and are now steering our nation towards a better future? Do we Filipinos have a genuine sense of agency that shapes our experiences and choices in life? Journey to self-rule. During his time, Jose Rizal, our national hero, did not initially advocate for separations from Spain. He, along with other ilustrados, the Filipino educated class during the Spanish regime, called for reforms in the Spanish colonial system in the Philippines. They campaigned for equality in status, rights, and opportunities before the law for the so-called Indios, or natives of Filipinas, the Philippine Islands. In the more than 3 centuries of Spanish rule, many revolts were launched against the colonizer because of abuses by Spanish officials and friars, among which were land grabbing, unjust taxation, and forced labor. Later, with the persecution of Filipino leaders who defended the rights of their countrymen, the reform movement failed. This caused Andres Bonifacio to establish the Katipunan, an underground organization against the Spanish government. Its discovery by Spanish authorities in August 1896 led to a local uprising that spread to the provinces surrounding Manila and later turned into a full-blown revolution all over the Philippines. Hostilities ceased when the Spanish government and the revolutionaries signed a truce. Independence was proclaimed by Emilio Aguinaldo in June 1898. But the celebration was short-lived because of the Spanish-American War, which led the Americans to also take interest in the Philippines. Spain lost this war and in the Treaty of Paris, ceded the Philippines to the United States. Though the United States seemed to support the Filipino revolutionaries at first, later its troops took control of the capital city of Manila and colonized the rest of the Philippines for 48 years. During the American occupation, some of our countrymen continued the struggle for freedom through guerrilla warfare for several years. However, armed resistance against the United States ended with Aguinaldo's capture and later with the surrender of General Macario Sakay. Other Filipinos who became elected officials in the U.S. civil government in the Philippines chose the path of political lobbying. From 1919 onwards, the so-called independence missions to the U.S. lobbied vigorously for the passage of an Independence Act. This was realized in the Tidings-McDuffie Act, which provided for a 10-year transition period, followed by recognition of the independence of the Philippines by the United States. In November 1935, the transitional administration known as the Commonwealth of the Philippines was established and headed by Manuel Quezon. It governed the Philippines from 1935 to 1946, except for the period of exile during the Second World War from 1942 to 1945, when the Japanese occupied the country. Finally, on June 4, 1946, the U.S. government granted independence to the Philippines, giving its people the chance to chart their own destiny toward a better quality of life. With 77 years of self-rule, our nation is a young democracy, and its institutions have not yet matured in such a way as to improve the lives of our people. Looking at the economic situation of the Philippines, we see key issues that face the country: significantly high unemployment, high inflation rate, 5.4% as of June 2023, rising policy rates, import and export bottlenecks, and the weakening of the Philippine peso against the American dollar. Because of these challenges, we can understand why about 11% of our total population are overseas Filipino workers, or OFWs, who search for higher income and benefits abroad. Being a developing country, the Philippines relies heavily on trade and foreign direct investment, so we are dependent on rich and developed nations that possess the technology and financial resources to hire caregivers, domestic helpers, and other service-oriented jobs that offer limited career paths. Many resign themselves, saying that it is better to have a job overseas than have a job that barely provides for their needs in the Philippines. OFWs, or overseas Filipino workers, have been called modern heroes for their sacrifice of having to work far from their loved ones while contributing billions in remittances to the Philippine economy. Yet they can also be modern slaves, subject to abuse, being vulnerable to manipulation, exploitation, and discrimination. Inequality of opportunity and low economic mobility across generations waste human potential, which is essential for building a competitive and prosperous economy that will in turn improve the well-being and quality of life of all Filipinos. This was what Rizal fought for: Filipinos excelling in all fields and not looking down on their own people like the colonizers who treated the natives as lower-class citizens. Isekai, to go through the experience of the characters. It is noteworthy that GMA Network has revived interest in Jose Rizal's novels Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo by producing and bringing to life the Maria Clara at Ibarra series. The story revolves around Maria Clara Infantes, better known as Clay, portrayed by Barbie Forteza, who enters the fictional world of Maria Clara, portrayed by Julian San Jose, and Crisostomo Ibarra, portrayed by Dennis Trillo, the main characters of the novels. Rizal's novels can be classified as historical fiction, meaning the protagonists aren't based on actual documented real persons. They are simply persons who could have existed or likely could have existed in that place and time. Clay is being transported to the Spanish colonial period of the late 1800s is reminiscent of fantasy and time travel novels, movies, and TV series. It's a portal fantasy like the Chronicles of Narnia. But in manga and anime, the subgenre is called Isekai, Japanese for different world or other world, as we see the main character transported into a new world, which, in the case of Maria Clara at Ibarra, is a different time period, the world of Rizal's novels. This genre serves as an excellent tool, especially for the youth, to put themselves in the shoes of the novel's characters, becoming aware of their desires and emotions, their fears and hopes. Using the fish out of water trope, viewers are able to see the vast difference between that historical period and our current setting through Clara, the Gen Z protagonist of the series. Clara comes from a dysfunctional family. She and her mother were abandoned by her father, who now has another family. She suffers seeing her mother physically abused by her stepfather. A nursing student with a part-time job, Clara does not see any hope for her life to prosper in the Philippines and dreams of working abroad as a nurse. Her life takes an unexpected turn after she reads a special version of Noli Me Tangere given to her by her professor. After reading a few characters, she dozes off and wakes up in the world of the Rizal novels. As she interacts with the novel's characters, she makes many discoveries. For one thing, seeing the oppression of the people by those in power, she realizes that our present-day problems are not so different from those of the past. Understanding our Filipino identity and present context. It is timely that this TV series was developed and released after celebrating 500 years of Christianity in the Philippines and 125 years since we declared independence from a foreign power. The series is well crafted and conceptualized, with the actors and actresses convincingly portraying their roles. Their dialogues resonate with the Filipino soul, giving hope and meaning to our Filipino identity. This presentation of Rizal's novels makes us proud and gives dignity to Filipinos. Through the episodes of the TV series, the creative team helps us rediscover and appreciate the attire, architecture, culinary traditions, and social norms of the late 19th century Philippines. They bring us closer to the heart and mind of Jose Rizal. The characters Clara, Maria Clara, Crisostomo Ibarra, and Fidel are endearing, as one can truly relate to their situation and feelings. Moreover, we cannot but feel sorry for Don Rafael, the father of the young Ibarra, or Sisa and her sons Crispin and Basilio. It is even more painful to see how fellow Filipinos being accomplices in the oppression of their own people, such as Crispin, falsely accused of stealing money from the convent by the sacristan mayor. Watching the series makes one realize that the social ills Rizal wrote about continue to linger in the injustices done to our people by those in authority. This retelling of Rizal's novels opens the path to make us better understand our present context. The challenge we all need to be. Having been already written, the events that untold in the story are expected to go in a certain direction or have a certain outcome. However, Clara's presence in the story influences it in some way. Through her interaction with the different characters, she does not remain a spectator but becomes involved in and makes her own the concerns of the people she encounters. In a particularly powerful episode, Ibarra delivers a moving speech to the people of San Diego. First, he asks for forgiveness for turning a blind eye to the injustices suffered by his people at the hands of the colonizers. Then he makes an impassioned plea to his fellow Filipinos to wake up from indifference and stand up for their rights. Ibarra exposes the cancer that is eating away at society, the abuses committed by Spanish authorities and clergy, and the defects of Filipinos. This series tells us that in the face of a social problem, we should not give up, but are encouraged to be part of the solution. We need this mindset to be able to face various issues like poverty, inequality, crime, lack of access to health care, inadequate housing, environmental degradation, lack of access to education, and corruption. All this may seem insurmountable, but to change the reality and address the root causes, we must learn to stop, stand back from a situation, and reflect on it before we jump in and take action. Now, the redeeming twist. In the novel El Filibusterismo, Padre Florentino says to Simon, "What's the use of independence if the slaves of today will be the tyrants of tomorrow?" This quote serves as a poignant examination of the Filipino conscience. It is disheartening to admit that often our love for country is not translated to concrete care for fellow Filipinos who are on the margins of society. As a nation, we still have a long way to go in achieving economic independence and ensuring an equitable distribution of goods and opportunities among our citizens. However, amidst these challenges, there is hope. Clay, Elias, and Fidel are figures that embody the spirit of unknown Filipino heroes who, though not having monuments to their honor, have made significant contributions to freedom through genuine concern for their connationals. This will be our saving grace if we possess the resilience, courage, and determination of our past and present heroes. We must deeply reflect on the lessons presented in Rizal's novels and the Maria Clara at Ibarra TV series. They remind us that our fight for freedom is an ongoing journey and that progress is not solely measured by material wealth or external achievements. True freedom and progress lie in our ability to create a just and equitable society where every Filipino has the opportunity to flourish and contribute to the nation's development. As we celebrate the 125 years of Philippine independence, let us never forget those who gave their lives for our country and the hardships they endured to secure our freedom. It is now our responsibility to carry on their legacy by actively working to build a nation that upholds the principles of justice, equality, and genuine independence for all its citizens. This commemoration should serve as a resounding call to action, inspiring Filipinos to rise above mediocrity and actively contribute to the transformation of our society. Let us strive to become agents of change, breaking free from the chains of oppression, both internal and external, and forging a future where every Filipino can genuinely claim the freedom to shape a prosperous life for themselves and their families. Together, let us believe that our nation's story is not yet over. May we embark on a collective journey towards a better Philippines, one that embodies the ideals and aspirations of Jose Rizal and other heroes who fought for our freedom. If a simple person can make a difference, no matter how small, in the lives of others, how much more if each one of us does our part in fulfilling the promise of a truly free and flourishing nation? Jonas, Lardisabal, and Jose Aranes.